Honored to be here, Congressman. My name is Jerry Denny. I've lived in Pueblo since 1949. I spent 34 years out in the steel mill making steel. 6 generations of families were raised in that mill, in the lower mills, which were all shut down due to regulation. And I just want to tell my fellow Pueblo citizens, that's where your jobs went. Strangulation by regulation. And Congressman, I know what you're doing on those subcommittees is helping to relieve the pressure with those regulations on small businesses, and I thank you very much for that. Part of my concern also, having been born and raised on a dairy farm, is agriculture, which is one of the biggest businesses here in the state of Colorado. Living in the Arkansas Valley, water and farming are big problems we're facing today. One of my questions is, what can you do about the water problems that we have? And another thing, I support community-supported agriculture. When I was a little kid, you could go up to a farmer's gate and say, I'd like to get a pound of butter, a couple dozen eggs, and a gallon of milk. If I do that today and that farmer sells it to me, he's a criminal, and so am I, and we can both go to jail. And I'm looking for relief from the Food and Drug Administration arresting people for raising too many vegetables in their gardens in Georgia. This already happened. And United States Department of Agriculture telling me that I don't have the choice to choose the food to feed myself and my children. I wonder what you can do about those two agencies. They really affect our food and our agriculture. The animal ID problem. It's really harming the small farmer. If I got 3 or 4 cows or 20 cows and I want to sell the milk, I've got to jump through so many regulations that it almost makes it impossible for me to do. I just want to throw up my hands and walk away. The same with some of the regulations here in this county. It gets to the point where you want to turn out the lights and forget your line of credit, lock the door, and leave. What can you do to help us down here at this level to get our jobs back? A lot of signs out here about jobs. I agree with them. I want to work. I want to work to earn the money to pay for my food, my home, my clothes, and my kids. What can you do to get the regulations, other than completely eliminating the budgets on these bureaucrats and these bureaus? Thank you.
I guess just try and open a lemonade stand.
You can't do that.
You speak to a very important point, that we're seeing regulation at all levels. I sit on the Ag Committee. We're going to be taking up Farm Bill when we're talking about the FDA and others. We're going to be taking up some of those issues. And you are exactly right. We've had some feedback, and I want to be very clear, because looking around this room, I know a lot of folks. We have some people that work for the government. We have some very dedicated people that work at the federal, the state, and the local levels that we all truly respect. But when we start seeing the administration's policies being pushed forward, more regulation coming, we're seeing real impacts. When we're talking about our ag community, earlier we were talking about energy. The nation that is relying on someone else for their energy is truly at risk. A nation that is relying on others to be able to feed us is greatly at risk. We need to be standing behind our farm and ranch community and creating opportunities for them to be able to grow and to be able to sell those products. And I share with you, and I agree with you. The old farmers markets, I remember those growing up as well. Being able to go out and get fresh milk. We want to make sure our products are safe, but again, we've seen the overreach of government when it comes to the regulatory policy. When we're talking about supporting that farm and ranch community, I'm supporting the trade agreements with Panama, Colombia, and South Korea. It's going to create export opportunities for us. Working with the Mexican government to be able to open the doors for us to be able to sell the San Luis Valley potatoes down into that market. It's an incredibly important industry. You know, when we look down south and out east of town here, we don't give it a lot of thought. But there are a number of people that get up early in the morning, take care of their animals, to be able to grow crops, to be able to feed us. And we've all heard, and we come from rural America, so our kids know that milk does not come from the grocery store. It does indeed come from a cow. That we have to be supporting our ag community, our farm and ranch community. And they need water to be able to grow. Here in Colorado, we're in a unique situation. I believe outside of the state of Hawaii, we're the only state that doesn't have a major river that flows through it. When we see that white snow up on the hillsides in dead winter, that's our water for the next year. I think it's important that we protect our water, that we protect it in the basins in which it is in, to be able to grow, because I want to be able to see this community grow. I want to be able to see out the Pinyon Canyon area, those farmers and ranchers to be able to prosper. I don't want to see our water drained off to be able to grow big cities. But we do need more water storage in the state of Colorado. There are opportunities, perhaps, to be able to do that. We want to do it in an environmentally sound way. But there are natural basins that are an option that we can look at. We need to store more water because it's estimated by the year 2050 that we're going to need better than 1 million+ acre-feet of water to be able to accommodate the growth of population just in the state of Colorado. So we're going to need to be working on ideas for storage. That means we have to have conservation, just good common sense use of our water as well. I think we all understand that. Great opportunities even in the agricultural world. Had an opportunity to visit Israel to be able to look at the drip systems that they use to be able to deliver it directly to the crops to lower the water usage and to be able to get a high yield that's coming out. So there are a variety of ideas that we can look at. And you point to a very important point. When we're talking about doing it right, again, it goes back to a previous question. We need to be vigilant on those regulations as they're coming through. We've had several members of the bureaucracy complain that we are holding so many oversight hearings that they aren't able to do their job. So I think we're doing, in many respects, and like I say, please don't misunderstand. We all understand we need to have some regulations. But I think we've seen examples of the overreach. You know, the EPA had to rescind it, but they were going to actually label milk as an oil-based fluid, and they were going to be requiring our dairy farms to build protective berms around dairies in case of a milk spill. Yeah, but that was vigilance. It ended up not happening. But it could have without the vigilance of looking at shining the light of data. This we brought to the attention of Director Jackson when she was before the Ag Committee. So it's important that we all are paying attention and seeing how those regulations are truly going to impact. I'll go back to the legislation that I was talking about earlier, my RIS, Regulatory Impact Statement. I'm also supporting what's called the RAINS Act. Again, dealing with overzealous regulations with $100 million worth of impact nationwide. To be able to try and stop over-regulation, which is hurting our ability to produce, increasing costs on people that can't afford it, killing American jobs, and inhibiting our ability to be able to get people back to work and to create those jobs that we so desperately need.
Yes.
Congressman, my name is Alex Mugratu, and I just want to say that you answered my question earlier. But at the end of the day, I do want to thank you for visiting with us here in Pueblo, and thank you for legislating with principle and not politics.
Thank you, Alex.
$815. $790. 767.
Yeah, my name is Albert Becko. I'm with the Alliance for American Manufacturing, and we got a bill in the House Bill 639, and I wanted to ask you if you were willing to sign that. It's a bill on Chinese manipulation of the currency to make it fair, sort of equal trade. See, they manipulate their currencies to where we can't compete with China on some products, and this is what I wanted to ask you on.